Hi, my name is Eva. I'm a body worker based in Los Angeles. Today I'm working on Olivia. She is a singer and our main focus is opening up her diaphragm and her upper body, her chest. So I'll be guiding you in the video through different techniques. We're gonna get really deep into the diaphragm. I'm also gonna work on her neck a little bit, most of her upper traps and the scapula. I'm going to warm up Olivia with a little bit of thoracic spine twists. So I'm gonna grab her leg that's closer to me into half kneeling, have her leg rest in my hip crease, and I'm gonna sit all the way down to my heel. And I'm gonna grab her opposite arm and do a little twist here by just gently pulling onto her arm, just leaning back. She should feel this in her traps. Maybe I can switch my grip. I can also push the little trigger point here on the palm. And I'm just leaning back, pulling onto the arm diagonally. Then from here, I can also just hug her shoulder with my hands, keeping my arms straight. And I'm gonna do circles, moving the scapula, getting some movement into the scapula here. Kind of feeling her traps at the top as well, maybe pushing into the traps a little bit to give it some extra attention and pressure. I can also switch directions. And then I can also just hang in here. And I can also just put my one arm right below her shoulder blade. The opposite arm is gonna push onto the hip. And then here I can pin her hip down and create a little bit more twist here into the thoracic spine. Maybe I can do a little pressure around the scapula here as well. You can also switch the grip, pinning the hip down and rotating, twisting. Good. Good. From here, I can also palm her shoulders. So I'm keeping the leg here, moving my hips and alternating the pressure. So I'm just moving side to side here. And then from here, because I will be working on her diaphragm a little bit more in depth, so I want to warm her up into it. So I'm gonna make this shape with my hands and hug the ribs here. So my thumbs will be at the end of the sternum here. Palms will be hugging the ribs. And as I'm pushing down, I want to make sure I'm right above the ribs and pushing down this way, how the ribs move. So I'm gonna have her take a deep breath into my palms and exhale, push down, slightly rotating the ribs in, keeping the pressure down, take a deep breath in, and pressing just a little bit more, feeling where the end range of motion is here. And I can also do a little bit of pulsing one side, other side, and release. Then I want to get both of her legs over my leg. So I'm just gonna grab her other leg. And then from here, you can have their legs to go over. cross to just get a little bit more stability, and make sure the knees are right above the quad here. And I'm gonna put my hand onto her ribs, fingers facing to the side, and the edge of my palm is kind of where the end of the sternum is. And then from here, take a deep breath into my hand. I push down as I pull the legs away. Deep breath in. And exhale. Good, now I'm gonna put her legs all the way back down the table. And I want to elevate her legs just a little bit, so I'm gonna use this pillow. And keep your head down. It's easier when you work on the diaphragm to keep the legs just a little bit more elevated. And then from here, I'm gonna first roll the skin around her belly. So I'm gonna start on the outside from me. I'm gonna do a little skin rolls. All the way towards me. I can also go more around the belly button. I can also stay in the middle, grab the skin. And then from here, I wanna really get under the ribs where the diaphragm attaches to get deep. So I'm gonna use my palm, which I'm gonna show you this hand. So I'm gonna use the edge of my palm to get under her rib cage. And then the opposite hand is gonna be pushing onto the rib cage kind of over the hand. So take a deep breath in here for me. Exhale. So I'm really pushing down. Deep breath in. Pushing down into the bottom of the rib and then pulling the rib over my hand. Deep breath in. I can also use my thumbs here to get under the rib. So I'm gonna start here at the bottom because it's a little bit more sensitive the closer you get to the sternum. So I'm just using my thumbs. This can be sensitive, so you okay? Let's take a deep breath in. Just breathe through it. So I found a little sensitive or tender spot, so I can stay there for a little bit longer. I'm not gonna push too much. Get under the rib. All the way to the top. Also, when I am in this position where I was earlier, when my hand was under the rib, I take a deep breath in. Exhale. As I get the rib over, I can slightly just move my hand underneath the rib cage to get really deep into the diaphragm. Good. And then you do the same thing on the other side. Now we have Olivia in a prone position. I'm gonna work on her scapula a little bit more because her neck is very tight. So I wanna get a little bit more deep around the scapula. So I'm gonna lift her shoulder first, support the shoulder with my hand, then bend her elbow, put the forearm over her low back, And as I'm climbing up on the table, my legs will support her arms. So her shoulder is lifted off the table. So now you can see that helped me to create some space here. And I'm gonna make this shape with my hands. And thumbs will go around the scapula. So I'm really just outlining the scapula here with my hands. And I keep this pressure and I'm just moving with my body. Moving with my body side to side. Really putting a lot of pressure around the scapula. Even with my thumbs on top of the traps, that feels really good. And then I would stay here for a little bit longer. This feels really good for the client. Obviously check with them. And then I can also just put my fingers behind the scapula here and then slightly lean back with my whole body. And I'm gonna grab a different spot below the scapula and I'm leaning back. Can do a little bit of shaking here. So we're getting really deep work around the scapula, the shoulder blade, the lower traps, upper traps. And then from here, I can also go around. You're gonna keep the client's hand here, and I'm gonna use this palm. So I'm holding the elbow right here. Use the other hand on the outside of the scapula, or the inside of the scapula, outside the spine. So I'm right here, push and pull. Release, maybe switch a different spot. Pin down the scapula, and then I'm moving my body back as I'm pulling on the elbow here. And then from here, I'm gonna get her into some back extension. So I'm gonna grab a pillow. You can stay on your stomach. Yeah. So I'm gonna use the pillow. I'm gonna sit right above her hips. Then I'm gonna get her hands into my hips. If some people are a little bit too tight, I make sure I'm gonna support the shoulder when I'm grabbing the hand so it doesn't feel like too much on the shoulder. And then I'm gonna grab the same arm on this side of the shoulder, cup. I'm really grabbing the shoulders here. Now I'm gonna ask her to take a deep breath in. As she exhales, I'm just leaning back, lifting her, and really supporting the shoulders here. Slowly put her down the way we came up. Deep breath in and exhale. So I'm really just using my body again to lift her and rest. And now just get down safely so it doesn't feel like too much on the shoulders. Good. I'm now gonna get Olivia into seated position. All right, we're gonna now in seated position get a little bit more into the diaphragm. So I'm gonna hook my fingers underneath the client's ribs. So it's a little bit easier if I lean the client forward to really find her ribs, access it easier, and I'm gonna lean her back towards me to make her feel a bit more comfortable so she can relax. And just breathe into my hands. For this stretch or this release, you can stay here for a little bit longer. I'm not gonna say as long, but you will feel the longer you stay, how much more release you can get. Maybe you can a little bit pull the ribs apart slightly if they allow you to, or you can go a little bit up. Depends on the client's movement. And you can slowly release. And then from here, I'm gonna do a little bit more chest openers, pec openers. So I'm gonna have Olivia to get my arm over this leg, and this opposite arm goes behind her head. I'm gonna get a little bit snug here, closer. Maybe if you wanna put the pillow between the client and you here, you can do that. And then from here, so I'm hooking this arm around like that and really securing it. And the client will just lean onto your leg so they can completely relax. And I'm going back, kind of diagonal, pushing my hips forward and going all the way down. And return back to seated. And now, Olivia, you can keep your arms behind your head. Elbows go all the way in. So for this one, we're gonna do a little bit more thoracic spine mobility and chest opener. So I am using this leg that's behind her to support my elbow like this. And then my hand will be on her back like this. So as I'm pushing the hand into her back, I'm using this leg. So I have more pressure here. So I'm moving my forearms around the elbows here. And I'm using the back leg to push into the mid back. And I'm just leaning her over my arm or my hand. I can also switch the location. Now I can go a little bit higher, so now I'm more behind or between the shoulder blades. And just using the leg that's up to push into the hand. So I'm really not putting any pressure into the hand. I'm just using my leg to push my hand into her back. Good, you can relax. Thank you so much for watching these videos. If you guys have any suggestions on what else you would like me to work on, or if there are different techniques you would like me to show you, please put your suggestions in the comments. And I'm really looking forward to see you next time. I really appreciate you.